Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast. I'm Renae Lipsmeyer. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on these videos. Thanks again for watching. All right, guys, here I am with Darin Baldwin, who's a good friend of mine. We're in Saratoga Springs, so we're going to talk about night one and the set list that we got. If you have been on any form of social media, you will see that the boards are exploding talking about the set list from night one in Saratoga Springs. So we have two different perspectives here today. Of course, this was my first time. This was your first time as well here at Saratoga Springs, but he was in the pit and I was in the lawn. So I love that story because I want this podcast to kind of be something people can go to and say, hey, I've never been to SPAC before, but I know where I can get some information from, or at least get a vibe or a feel of the venue. So I'm going to give you kind of the lawn perspective. He's going to give you the pit perspective. And at this venue, I think it's super important because Google pictures of SPAC. Google pictures of what this building looks like. I don't think I was prepared, and I don't think anyone their first time can be quite prepared for what SPAC is like because it's so very different than anything I've been to before. And I'm going to let Darin talk about that as well. But it's a really amazing venue, but it is very different. And I think if you're coming in with a lawn ticket, you really need to know what the lawn looks like, because we hear lawn. In most venues, it doesn't matter where you are in the lawn, you can still see the stage for the most part. Now, they might be this high, but you can still see the stage, and with the help of the screens and everything, it makes it easy. But here in SPAC, it's a little bit different. So first, we're going to talk about the set list, and we just want to open right up with the stone. I'm going to let Darin introduce himself. If you don't know Darin is all over the country seeing the Dave Matthews Band. He's decided to live his best life, right? And so why not do it with the best people, right? The Dave Matthews Band fans. So Darin, I'm going to let him have the microphone and talk about, we're going to go through the set list. He's going to give the pit perspective and then just his personal opinions on, this song was so good and here's the reason. And I love Darin because he looks at the band kind of the same way I do. He likes to watch the guitars that are pulled out. He likes to watch, the mumbling of conversations between the band to kind of see like what's going on. I love the pit. I think it's amazing because it gives you a better technical view of like how the show is produced. But of course, as long as you're there, it's a party no matter where you are. So here is my friend Darin. We're going to talk through the set list for night one.
Hi, I'm Darin Baldwin. I live in Sacramento, California, and I have been fortunate enough to become friends with Renae and the Space Between podcast over the last couple of months. And I've seen a lot of shows, and out of all those, last night was probably number one. It's still so fresh. I'm not, I probably need a week to decide that for sure, but it's definitely high on my list. Starting with the Stone, that was incredible. I had hoped that we would get it at some point this weekend, but for it to be the very first song of the first night, I knew we were in for something special. Phenomenal version. Jeff was just killing it on his solo. Just the energy of the crowd, everybody singing I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, when you're in the pit like that and you can hear 25,000 people behind you screaming that at the top of their lungs. It's just an energy that you can't even describe. It literally just gives you goosebumps just to hear how into it and the energy from the crowd and the people. And you could tell from the minute that the band walked on stage that they were preparing to put forth an epic night for everybody, and they definitely delivered with that. There was no doubt from the second it was going to be an incredible night. We had it was my first time at this venue, like Renae said, and I had no idea really what to expect when I got there. I've heard people talk about it for years, which is why I wanted to come here for my first time. And I got to say, definitely no disappointment. I just probably will never not come back here again. It was just incredible. After the Stone, came back with something a little bit lighter with the Do You Remember, which I love. It's kind of whimsical little song. It takes you back to your childhood and makes you think about some fun things. And I don't know, it's just a very cute song. I know there's some people out there that don't love it as much, but it's just one that I happen to really enjoy. Then after that, we went right to Busted Stuff, which of course, it's played several times this year, but it had been several years since it had been played in between. I like kind of the version they're doing now where they've kind of extended it out a little bit at the end with the alto saxophone solo and just how they kind of build to the end. But it's just a phenomenal song. Takes us back to some of our earlier years. I'm going to let Renae go to the next song now.
Hey, all right. So after Busted Stuff, and again, I love watching the faces of people because, we're lucky. I'm going to say it. We're super blessed to have been able to go to a lot of shows this tour. Darin and I decided separately, but now that we have, this common story, we're, better friends. But, we decided that 2023 was going to be just be our fucking year, right? And so we were going to do what we wanted to do and do it how we wanted to do it, regardless of making other people happy or seeking other people's approval or just waiting for someone to say it's okay for you to do that shit. We just decided to kind of take our own hands, our own life in our own hands and go, hey, we're about to do something that makes us happy and be around the people that make us happy. And we're happier people for it. We're better people for it. We talked about this at breakfast. And I think people can recognize people that are happy, right? People that are just saying fuck it, seeking approval, right? If you're genuine and you're happy, everything goes better. So I always encourage people to do the shit that we're doing, let go, break free, all this stuff. And hey, we got break free, right? That wasn't next. The next thing was The Only Thing. Always a great song. After The Only Thing, we went into Dancing Nancy's. And here's what I want to talk about. The next song, right? The next song, I remember when it started, it was kind of like one of those moments where I looked at my friends and I was like, is this happening? Do you hear what I hear? Because it surely couldn't be it, right? Because the last time the next song was played when was this?
2011. I believe the last time previous was in 2011, perhaps.
I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. This is a live recording. Here we go. So, yeah
2011. When I heard the first couple of notes, I was like, oh, my God, can this possibly be happening? And, when then it continued and started to build, I was just blown away. I haven't heard this song probably since The Gorge. I don't even know how long, but it's been a really long time. And
So it was the American Baby intro. I would like to think, as people were watching the Couch Tour live, I'd like to think that they probably had a similar look on their face. Do you hear this? Is this really happening? Am I going crazy? Is it the drugs? What is happening right now? But no, we got American Baby intro. It was, for me, and I'm going to let Darin talk more about it, but for me, I kind of just stood there and took it. I was just half freaking out in my mind, but also I need to absorb every second of this because when will be the next time, right? Will this be the only time I ever get it? It's likely, right? It's likely that it might be. So if you weren't familiar with this song, which I would imagine that most people or a lot of people weren't, and that's kind of the joy to me, again, of the Dave Matthews Band is when you show up to a concert, they have such a large catalog of songs, you do not know what you are going to get. And in order to kind of know the catalog shit, you'd almost have to have done a deep dive of research or been a fan for a long time. That being said, American Baby Intro is just one of those songs that unless you've been kind of hanging on to the band for a while, or you've been a fan for a while, or you've just recently done a deep dive into deep tracks, this song was definitely one of those. So everyone was talking about it. Everyone will continue to talk about it. And I think that song is probably going to put SPAC N1 on the radar as one of the best shows of the year simply because of that song. That's my opinion. I think, the whole set list will put us on the map for night one, and I'm looking forward to see what night two does. But after American Baby intro, right into Break Free, which if you follow this podcast at all, that's kind of my anthem. To break free. That's what I decided to do in my life, was to break free of all the bullshit and do what I wanted to do. And so that song is always amazing. And then if that wasn't enough, right, I could have just dropped the mic right then. No, Sledgehammer. And I know the controversy over this song. I hear so many opposite stories of I love Sledgehammer, it's so good, it's a party, blah 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 blah. And then you've got the far extreme of people going, it's a cover, I don't like covers, or why do they do that? But for me, I have a personal story of like, remember 2019 being in Dallas, this song came on, me and my girlfriend went down the aisles giving people high five, and I love to tell that story because that's what I feel every time Sledgehammer happens. It's a party, and if you look around, even if you don't personally love that, just do a 360. Look around at the people that are there. They are fucking loving it. And I think that's why the band does it, is because they must enjoy it, but they also probably really enjoy watching the fans lose their shit and have a party and run up and down the aisles and give people high fives. So what was Sledgehammer like for you in the pit?
It was really incredible. There was just so many people that were so excited. Dave puts... There's no guitar that comes out, so everybody kind of knows it's coming. And I honestly think it's a song where if you're at the venue and it's live and you're there, it's impossible not to have an amazing experience with it. Like, the people who probably don't like it as much maybe aren't at the venue, because the energy that everybody has and just like how everybody's dancing, and Dave's doing his fancy dancing that everybody loves to see, and then just everybody knows every word, and so you could hear, like I said, you could hear 25,000 people just singing every word and screaming along. And, the more energetic the crowd was getting about it, the more kind of energy the band was getting. And you could see, the interaction between Dave and Buddy are just like, kind of like, wow, this is crazy, like how good this is tonight. So I think that's one of the cool things about these shows, is that not only is it what the band gives us, but like you can tell sometimes when the crowd's really having a great night, like they're giving something back to the band, and then that makes the band want to be even better. And you could just see that like dynamic, that energy exchange last night, especially from my viewpoint. You could tell that like they were thriving off of what we were giving back as much as we were thriving off what they were giving. So just a really cool exchange of energy back and forth. Just one of my favorites. Is a great song.
So after Sledgehammer, we went into Madman's Eyes, which honestly, I'll tell you what I was thinking when I first heard just even the little bit of Madman's Eyes. I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be a fake? Because now, like, my brain is like, every time I hear Madman's Eyes or certain song, I'm like, is this, or what are we doing here? Or I think most people are feeling that way about Satellite now. Like, when Satellite starts, is this a fake? Are we going into something else? Or are we going to get all of Satellite? I love that the band is playing with us, right? Because I feel like that's what they're doing. Yes, they're having fun, and I'm sure that, it's fun for them, but they're playing with us. And I love the return of the energy, right? Just like he was saying with Sledgehammer, not only is it fun for us to see the crowd, I imagine that, after being on tour and doing show after show after show after show, as an artist, I can imagine that would be kind of be blinded, because you see so many people, and the venues are, similar from a stage perspective, looking out to the crowd. They can't see far, they can see near, but when they get that return of energy back, I just want to believe that boosts them to just feel great on stage, right? And so I think it's a return back and forth for sure. And that's exactly what happened with the next song. Actually, the next two songs, and I feel like I have to talk about these two songs together. The next song after Madman's Eyes was Big Eyed Fish, which honestly, I was so excited to hear it. It was only the third time that it's been played in 2023. I was a little jealous we didn't get it the first time, but I'm so happy for the people that did, because the next song was Bartender. And for those of you that, you're going to see some things called a fish tender. And there's a lot of people that are like, what the fuck is a fish tender? There's been t-shirts out on social media that are selling, with a fish that looks like a bartender. And so why we say that is because when they go from Big Eyed Fish directly into Bartender, that's called a fish tender. And that's, just one of the things that the Dave Matthews Band fans, we love to give these little names for when these rare things happen together, but they work so well together. So tell me, as far as the lawn went, everyone received it really well, and there were so many people around me that knew exactly what that was. But it was fun to watch the ones that also had no clue what was going on, just to kind of see them receive these older songs, especially Big Eyed Fish, that doesn't get played quite as much as some others. And so what was the energy like in the pit when you knew you had a fish tender?
It was crazy. There was I was fortunate enough to be around some people that I knew, but I met a ton of new friends also. and just to see the look on their faces as like you had a pretty good idea that it was going to go, from Big Eye Fish into bartender. Jeff went over to pick up the big saxophone, so like at that moment everybody kind of knew it was going to happen, and you could just see like the energy building. But I think one of the coolest things about the song was when Jeff got ready to play the recorder solo. There must have been some kind of funny joke or some interaction, because Jeff was literally laughing, and it was like you could tell he was like trying to figure out how he was going to stop laughing so he could get going on the recorder solo, and like it was making Dave laugh that this was happening, and so they were just having a great interchange and a lot of fun. And of course, Jeff made it perfect. You would have never known that he was laughing somehow, but it was just a kind of a really cool moment. And that's I think one of the awesome viewpoints about being able to be up close is you just see the interactions and the like how much fun the band is having with each other. And over the last 2 or 3 years, like you can see like the appreciation that they have for each other and the love that they have amongst the bandmates, and how much they appreciate, like everybody's so excited when everybody chants buddy buddy. They're all happy for him, and just you can just see that there's really a true love between all of the band members, and like they really want everybody to get their kind of time in the spotlight and their moment. And so whenever somebody's doing a solo and they kind of like take it up another level or do something that they haven't heard in practice, you can tell that they are like kind of have that oh shit look on their face, like wow, that was really cool kind of things. And so I just love that viewpoint of being close enough that you can see those interactions with within the band and within each other, and really just how happy they are for each other that they're getting to do something they love.
For sure. I definitely want to talk about the energy on the stage one more time. Each one of them, the way, I've been to, I love music in general. Yes, the Dave Matthews Band is my favorite band, but in general, and we've talked about this before, just seeing live music and the way that live music is put together very differently band to band, right? And so I love going out and seeing other bands, but what I have noticed in doing that is because I like to watch the actual technical side on stage, there are not a lot of other bands. First of all, there's not a lot of other bands that have been together for 31 years, right, that are still touring. But second to that, I've not seen an exchange on stage quite like I do with the Dave Matthews Band. There is truly a feeling of family on that stage, and I know that that's something that the fans like to say, is our group, that it's a family of people, but that family really does extend to the band. I mean, it started with the band, but the way they treat each other, the way they mutually respect what the other one is doing on stage, and the way they continuously highlight each person so that you remember, hey, it's not about just Dave Matthews. Like, yes, he does some singing and he's kind of in the front of the stage, but every single person that was on stage is highly talented, highly skilled, masters of their trade. And I want to give a big shout out to Tim Reynolds, because he'll never see this, but if anyone, I want this to go down, that Tim Reynolds looked like a fucking rock star last night with that security hat on. He's just he's a rock star anyways, but just like I haven't seen him in a lot of hats, and the fact that he chose like a black security hat made me like him so much more. And I remember seeing him and going, this band is everything, right? Like they cease to surprise me, even though I feel like, yes, I've got to see them a lot of times. Every single time I see this band, I'm blown away, and something new is brought to my attention. And so it's just really hard to not want to continue to see them, because it is always different. And that's the chase, right? That's why we continue to go to these shows, is we realize that one day this is going to be over, because we're all aging, right? Like, we know there's an end, and until then, we just want to party like we're rock stars with them, right? And so we're going to keep following the band. But big shout out to Tim Reynolds. Damn. Oh, my God. I love it. If anyone has a picture of him just in that hat, send it to me. I want to see it. Okay, so we went after Bartender into Looking for a Vein. Of course, that's on the new album that was released this year. I've heard really good things about it. I personally love it, and I think the more that it's out, it will grow on people. And then let's talk about this next song, Darin. So coming from a lawn perspective, it was very hard for me to see the guitars that were being brought out. I did a lot of moving around in the crowd. I started at what they call the rail in the lawn, which is the closest you can get but still it's very far away from the stage. And so with the help of some screens and stuff, I could see, but it was a minimal view. And that's one of the heads up I want to give everybody that's new to SPAC. The lawn is one of the largest I've ever seen because of the way that it's built. I joked earlier at breakfast today, and this is like the stupidest whatever, but it was like jumping into the painting in Mary Poppins where they go to the fair and there's the carousel and all the food and the flags and stuff. This is what SPAC looked like to me. It was like a county fair, but big and beautiful and in the woods, but the lawn is almost, I don't want to say obnoxiously big. It's so big. And I guess the people that come to SPAC, they know that if they're in a certain part of the lawn, there's no chance you're going to see the stage. You're just there to feed off the energy and to be with like-minded people, which is great. But I think it's worth mentioning because there are not a lot of lawns like that. Usually you can at least see the stage from a distance in any lawn, but that is not the case here in SPAC. It's just not. And so the next one I would have definitely been able to pull had I seen what guitar he was pulling out next, because he pulled out a red guitar, not a tiny one, but when he pulls out this red guitar, shit's about to go down. And so we got Shotgun, which the people that were around me, I could tell that maybe they didn't know what was happening. And in the middle of all these people just standing there trying to figure out what was happening, I was losing my shit, right? Because I knew exactly what was happening. And I was like, oh my God, it's Shotgun, it's Shotgun, it's Shotgun. And so I was losing my shit. So hopefully there's some videos of me out there. Please send them to me if there was, because I definitely lost my mind in the lawn. What was it like in the pit when you discovered, did you know when he pulled the red guitar out that it was possible that we were getting Shotgun?
So actually, usually that guitar is going to be Squirm most of the time, but ironically the person I was standing next to literally had sunglasses made that had Shotgun written on them, and I remembered that the Shotgun is also played with this guitar. It's pretty rare. And so when I looked over at my pit mate that I was standing next to and saw that, I told somebody else I was standing nearby, I'm like, wouldn't it be amazing if this was Shotgun? And then he played the first note, and I almost fell to the ground. I was so excited because I've only heard Shotgun, I think this was my third time ever, and yeah, such a great song. It's very rare, which I think is what makes it great, is that it's not played all the time. Sometimes the rarer songs people have even more of an affinity to because it is rare, and I think that's part of the magic of that. But they played a phenomenal version of it. Yeah, everybody was just losing their mind. It was it was one of the highlights of the show for sure, because it was really unexpected. I don't think anybody, if you play the set list game, I doubt very many people predicted that. So if you did, kudos to you, because what a great prediction. But just blown away that we happened to get that in the repertoire for the night. So
absolutely. And if nothing else, I think never lose your dream of the song that you want to hear, because this is proof that sometimes they just pull shit out of the catalog, things you were never expecting. So don't, if you've got a song out there that you've never heard live, don't stop wanting it. It will happen. You just got to keep listening, right? You just got to keep listening. So Shotgun was amazing. It was the first time it was played this tour, of course, and the last time it was played was June of last year, I believe. Yeah, June of last year. I was lucky enough to get that in Austin of 2022 at the opening, and it was a song I'd always wanted to hear, because once I had heard it, I couldn't forget it, right? Because of the way that I think Dave delivers the story through the song, and the way he uses his voice to tell that story, right? It's a story of pain and struggle, and the way he's able to deliver those words, it's fucking awesome when you can pull emotion in from singing and playing, and he does such a good job of that. He really does have a way of expressing emotion through the way that he sings, and and the whole band does, right? And so that song is just everything to me. After Shotgun, they went into Old Dirt Hill, which I want to say, looking at, it was actually the second time it's been played this year, but just for you that are listening, Old Dirt Hill is definitely a rare song. It's a deep track. It's not one that is going to be played a lot, and so I'm excited that the band has decided to play it again in 2023, especially now that I was here. But here's a challenge for you. If you're not familiar with this song, I want you to get on YouTube, and I want you to type in Old Dirt Hill, but I want you to listen to the Dave and Tim version at Radio City Music Hall. I believe that is. Don't quote me. I'm a little bit high right now, so all my facts aren't going to be completely straight. But I want to say that Old Dirt Hill was played Dave and Tim Radio City Music Hall, and what they did with that song, they kind of stripped it down, of course, as Dave and Tim style does. They stripped it down, they slowed it down, and it gave it such a different vibe, and I loved it. So my favorite version of that song is the slowed down version. If you've never heard it, listen to it. It changes the whole vibe of the song. But I'm so glad that I got to hear it last night. And so after Old Dirt Hill, of course, we went into P&P and Rapunzel. Always a party starter, right? What was it like in the pit when that happened? I think that's always a proud pleaser. So tell me what it was like in the pit.
The energy was just off the charts. Like, everybody knows every word, and you just could hear everybody singing the whole time, and it was just some of the loudest singing I've ever actually heard from the crowd, and like they're actually really singing pretty good. So sometimes you hear people singing and you're like, I wish they didn't. I'm sure that's what people think when they hear me singing, but there were some people who were singing it really well and just right along, and again, you could just see that, like, the energy the band was taking from like how into it the crowd was, and it just kind of, that song just builds and builds and builds to the end, and just, it was great. And then we go to probably, while Shotgun was amazing, Drunken Soldier is another pretty rare song, and honestly, out of all the songs, it's, as far as the message of the song, it is probably one of my very favorites. The lyrics of, like, I don't know, like, if you just listen to the words of that song, like, it is really what everybody should aspire to be. Like, fill your head, fill your heart with all the things that matter, take your shot, don't hold back, like, put yourself out there. Like, it's an inspirational song that I just love. It talks about how you should treat people, you should be kind always, no matter. It just is a song that resonates with me. It will always be one of my favorites. And I'm so blessed and lucky that I happened to be here to get to hear it, and everybody that was around was enjoying it just as much as me, probably, if not more. And it was one of the highlights of the night. I'm just blown away that happened, as well as the entirety of this crazy, random, incredible set list that apparently is something that only happens at SPAC. So
Who knew?
I am damn lucky. I'm so damn lucky that I got to be there for it.
Yes.
So
after Drunken Soldier, after we had all lost our mind, they actually just kept going. They were like, no, we're not done yet. We're giving you more. So, of course, they went into Granny. That's always a crowd pleaser. When I talk to people and I say, what do you want to hear? That's definitely a common story, is they want to hear Granny. Again, just a great message in the song. It's catchy. People love it. And it's well known. So we love to hear Granny. And so they closed before the encore with All Along the Watchtower. And honestly, like I was watching from my minimal view, you'll have to tell me, I knew you knew what was up, but from my minimal view, when they put that spotlight on the Fonz, I'm always like, it's going to be Crush. It's going to be Crush. That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's going to be Crush. Here we go. I'm not upset about it at all, because I love, again, the spotlight on each individual band member. And I think, when they can spotlight him, it's just, he gives it everything. He looks so fucking cool. And last night, I remember at one point he had like this glittery silver guitar, and like the light was just right on him. And I'm like, again, a fucking rock star. Like, these dudes are killing it. So All Along the Watchtower, always really good. I want to say, let's see, because of the help of our phones, believe it or not, that was the 15th time that they've played that in 2023. So again, that just goes to prove not only does the band love it, but the crowd receives it well every single time. So after All Along the Watchtower, of course, we took our break, right? The boys had to go get a drink of water or tea or do whatever they do and then come back out. And so what were people in the pit wanting as far as encores? What were you hearing? And then let's talk about the encores. I'm going to let you talk about the first one, and then I'm going to take the second song, because I'm so fucking proud of the second song. I've been chasing it. I think the whole world has been, because it hasn't been played yet, and we fucking got it finally, and I'm so happy I was here. So tell me, what were people in the pit wanting as an encore? What were you wanting as an encore? What did you feel like it was going to happen, and then did it turn out the way you thought it was going to based on everything you know?
So actually, in the set list game, I predicted the encore would be Virginia in the Rain and Two Step. So that was lucky. I'm not taking any magical credit, but it was a lucky guess, and I'll take that. Honestly, I was hoping to maybe get a number 40 in there in the encore, but I love Virginia in the Rain. Again, it's a sweet song about childhood and innocence, and the band plays it really, really well. I love the way that Tim overlays the melody with some of the light guitar riffs. It just adds a really nice touch to the song. Interesting, before the encore started, people were chatting in the pit, and I heard several people mentioning a two-step a ween and some of those kind of things, which obviously would have been amazing, but the two-step had not been played yet this tour, so I think a lot of people were hoping that this would be the weekend. I thought maybe potentially tomorrow night for the end of the thing, but the fact that it just capped off this perfect set list for the first night was just the best thing you could have possibly had. The energy they had in it was phenomenal. They kind of mixed up the way they did the solos a little bit over last year, which was a really nice twist. I like the way they mix it up, as they do every time. Basically they never play the same song the same way twice, and they of course kept in touch with that with this version of Two Step. And then the build at the end where Buddy's standing up and jamming, and Carter's building with the extra cymbals, and just the build to the end was really incredible. I've missed that song because we haven't seen it yet this year, so it was great to get that.
It's good. So yeah, let's start with Virginia in the Rain. I feel like by that point last night, I knew it wasn't going to rain, but it kind of made me want it just to at least start sprinkling, right? Because that just I felt like it would have made it magical in that moment. But the weather was so nice last night. It was very comfortable. I don't know what it was like for you guys, but back in the back, obviously we have the wind, and so there's some great things about being in the lawn. And like people always say, the party's in the back, right? But the party is wherever you are and wherever you make it, and that's why you can say the party is wherever you make it, right? It can be in the front, it can be back, in the middle, wherever. And that's what I love about getting different perspectives around a venue, was to float around to verify those very same things. Is there really a party everywhere, or is there one place that you need to be to enjoy this? And the answer is no. Honestly, all you need to do to enjoy this is fucking let go, right? That's all you need to do is show up, let go, and let them just give you what they've got, because they've got a great plan for us every time. We just got to be open and willing to receive this shit. So Virginia in the Rain, amazing. Such a beautiful, sexy little song. And then Two Step next. And again, this was a song that I think we've all been chasing because it hasn't been played, because it is one of their songs that everyone knows, right? It is one of their most popular songs. It's so many people's favorites, but when you hear it, people know this is the Dave Matthews Band. But on the flip side of that, obviously I haven't had a chance to verify this with the band, but always looking for a way in. So if you're watching this and you know them, hey, what's up? I'm Renae from The Space Between, and this is Darin, and we'd like to ask them some questions. So from what I hear, though, Two Step is a harder song for Carter. Carter being 65, is that right? Somewhere in that ballpark. I don't have any statistics in front of me, but I've heard that it's getting harder on his wrists and his hands, because if you think about how long he's been a drummer his whole life, and we're all getting older, we're not getting younger, and so things are going to change. But that's one thing that I've heard, is that Two Step is one of the harder songs for him to play. So, if that's true, I am so thankful that I got it, and that we got it as the first time, because people have been waiting for it. But also, again, it's just a party. And so the only negative thing for me, and this is not a negative thing, when I hear Two Step, it kind of just primes me. It gets me ready. I'm like, oh, let's do more. And then it was the end, right? So I was like, oh, what do I do now, right? But amazing set list, amazing show, amazing people. The vibe was great. I love SPAC so far. Everything everyone has said is true. It is such a different venue. So if you're looking for something completely different, sometimes we get, all of the arenas and all of the things, they kind of look the same. Well, this one is not the same. This one is different than anything you've ever been to before. And I mean, do you feel that way? You've done a lot of traveling. You've been to a lot of venues. Do you feel like this one is similar to any other venues, or what makes this one stand out?
It's very unique. I think the only thing I can even give as a slight comparison is would be Blossom, because of the way it's all encompassed, and it's, I believe, set up to facilitate orchestras and other things. So I think acoustically it's like a really great setup, and I think that's part of what makes it great. But Blossom would be the only thing I could really give as a comparison. It's very different than that as well in many ways, with the balcony and some of the other things. It is a very unique setup, but that's what part of the magic was. Like, having been my first time, like I said, I was just blown away when I walked in and saw what the setup was like, and how there's that balcony with the seats, and it's a very unique but very amazing thing. But that's, I think, again, part of the magic.
Yeah, I agree. And that would have been the one that I compared it to out of, places I've been, and I've tried to hit some major venues, right? Like, that's the research, right? I want to go to the places that people say, go here, go here, go here, because I want to be able to confirm that these people are right, or give my opinion of it, or whatever. And so SPAC is very different, but if I was going to compare it to anything, it would definitely be Blossom, just because of like its surroundings, and then also the building. The buildings look completely different, but I see what you're saying. The lawn at Blossom has a very minimal view of what's going on inside, and this one I think even less of a view, because it's pretty much like they built a building, it had a balcony, it had the inside, and then what it seems like, and I know this is not what happened, but what it seems like is they were like, you know what? Let's just let all the people behind the building also be part of the concert. We'll throw some screens up. We'll let them watch it from the lawn, but they don't have a chance in hell to see the stage. That's kind of what it's like. But again, your party, your experience, it all depends on what you are willing to give, right? If you show up and you're ready to party, even if you can't see the band, then the party will happen, right? You can still hear it. The acoustics are really well, and that's something, are really good, and that's something that someone was saying around me, is the sound is amazing. And even though we were so far back, this place was built for sound, right? And so the acoustics are amazing, and I think that, again, is what makes it different from being in the lawn at Deer Creek or whatever. Like, the acoustics are not the same. They're just not the same. It's a whole different level, and so we're so happy to be here at SPAC. Darin, thank you so much for being willing to kind of break this set list down for me. I love to hear different people's perspective of, like, what this show did to them, because, again, this is what this show is about, is the fan experience of the Dave Matthews Band, not necessarily just the band, but, like, to hear what the people that are traveling, the people that are listening, the people that love this band, what are they thinking? What are they saying? Those are the stories I'm interested in. So thank you so much for being part of this. We have night 2 tonight, and after this set list, I'm like, what the fuck could happen? Do you have any wants, or are you just going to kind of like, I mean, I know you're happy with whatever, but like, if you could say one song I'd like to hear that would just send me over the moon, what would it be? I'm going to tell you mine first. I want to hear Spoon. That's not going to happen. But if it does, I think it will put this weekend down on the maps. It's already on the maps, but I think it would be like a map with like circled and stars and all the glitter. Just put all that shit up there. So if I get Spoon, that would be interesting. We hear that Jason Aldean is in town for the horse races. So we know that there's some people in the area, and we know that Dave loves to have guests. So, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, fine. But like, what are some things that maybe you would like to see happen in night 2, or what are some things that you've heard people say, this is what I'd like to happen?
I agree with you on Spoon completely. It's been a long time since I've seen that song. The song that I would love to see would be a full band, Good Times. It's been a really, really, really long time. The other one I think that would be insane, it would be Spotlight. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Stefan had some kind of a tweet, I think it was a joke, but, mentioning Spotlight, and I think it's been like 1,800 shows or something since that's been played, so that would be an incredible, rarity to come up. But like Renae said, I love everything they play, and so I'm going to be happy with whatever they do, and I know for sure they'll find a way to bring the energy tonight, and it's going to be another amazing set list, even if we don't get as many of the rare songs, and it's more of the mainstream. It's still going to be incredible, so it's going to be a great night no matter what. I'm so glad I'm here.
Absolutely. We're so excited to be here, and that's the vibe here in Saratoga Springs. Everyone's just so happy to be here, right? It's a great place to be. So guys, thanks so much for listening to this. Stay tuned, because we've got night 2, so we're gonna compare and contrast, see what's happening, or honestly we might just get our minds so blown that we won't do a part 2, but I think we will. So definitely stay tuned for part 2, and thanks for tuning in from us here at SPAC Night 1.